Hello and welcome to the ScatterVolt channel, and today I'm going to be showing you guys 3 graphics cards you can buy right now, brand new, for under $200, along with their expected gaming performance in the year 2021 among some of today's most popular PC titles. Now, by no means are any of the graphics cards in this video going to be a permanent solution to a budget gaming PC, but I still think they are certainly more valuable than spending upwards of up to $300 to $400 on a basic GTX 1650 or RX 5500 XT, or what would be modern day budget graphics cards. And as a matter of fact, you can get this card here for $126, this card here for $180, and this one for $200. And that's actually after a recent price increase, because these were all about $20 cheaper a month ago. And it's probably due to trade tariffs, but anyways, all these you can get brand new are for under $200. So if you enjoy budget PC gaming content, or really just how to make the most of it in the year 2021, given how just crappy it is, then do consider subscribing to the ScatterVolt channel, because I'm trying to find ways around the graphics card shortage for budget PC gamers, and one of those is a video like this. But if you like this video and PC build guides, setup guides, and how to make the most of your current hardware, then yes, do consider subscribing. Or not, because I have enough subscribers and I just really need more views. Yeah. So I hear you haven't activated your gaming PC yet. You have that activate Windows watermark in the bottom right of your screen. Don't worry, I'm going to show you how to get rid of it by actually activating your PC through VIP SCD key in under a minute. All right, by now, I'm going to log in. See, that is in our cart. Let's go ahead and check out. That is 16 bucks. Let's go and type in our code VIP scatter, submit order. I'm gonna go ahead and pay for this through PayPal. That's just how I wanna do it. All right, your order has been created successfully. All right, view keys and codes. Get the key. There's our key right there. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and click change product key. Product key, I'm gonna go ahead and type it in. Okay, hit next. Activate. Is this gonna work? Place your bets. Windows is activated. We've activated this copy in Windows, and we only paid 16 bucks for it. So if you want to activate your gaming PC quick, easy, and simple, do it through VIPSCDkey.com. I'll have a link to the Windows 10 Pro key that I use, as well as other keys that they offer down at the top of the description below. So on to the first graphics card, and actually my favorite one out of this whole list is a Radeon RX 560. So the main reason why I really like this graphics card is you can get this brand new for $180 from AliExpress with a warranty, or for about $160 used as well from that site. And compared to eBay on Amazon for new and used prices, new, this is definitely cheaper, because you can get this about for like $240 on Amazon new, and on eBay they run about $160 to $200 used. So this is pretty competitively priced, I think. First and foremost, I think it's really difficult to get your hands on a 4GB VRAM graphics card that isn't a GTX 1650 or RX 5500 XT that isn't well over $300. So seeing this for $180 with 4 gigs of VRAM that's GDDR5 is really promising, and it's not overinflated. So I think that's a really nice bonus to this graphics card among another one in this video. But more importantly, it's the only one on this list that supports AMD's Fidelity FX Super Resolution technology, or AMD FSR. And I think that's gonna come really in handy for upcoming PC titles that'll utilize it, like Far Cry 6 and a few others like Resident Evil Village, because through the use of upscaling algorithms, you can actually get more frames per second in-game without actually changing your graphics or in-game resolution much, which is something kind of like DLSS, not quite, but it's open source and available for all AMD Radeon graphics cards and GTX 1000 and above graphics cards. Keep that in mind. Now next, and I think my second favorite graphics card, is actually a good old GTX 960 that also has 4 gigs of RAM and is also found on AliExpress, for the most part only in a new condition. I couldn't find any used ones, for exactly $200, but I bought this for $176 about 3 weeks ago, which is why I'm kind of curious about the price increase, because these graphics cards were way more valuable than they are when I'm publishing this video. Now, compared to used pricing on eBay, that $200 brand new price on AliExpress is actually kind of competitive because you can find used 960s on eBay for about 170 to 200. And the only thing you're really sacrificing going with a card like this from AliExpress is the display ports that are available to you. On this one, you only have an HDMI, and on some other units, you can probably get an HDMI and a display port. But on the traditional 960s that were released years ago, you could have all those HDMI and display ports to play around with. So that is one downside. But other than that, this is another graphics card from the green team now that has 4 gigs of VRAM and isn't ridiculously overpriced. And even as I make this video, still getting your hands on like a 1050 Ti with 4 gigs of VRAM is kind of difficult to find for a reasonable price, even brand new, because those go for about $260 on AliExpress, and that's kind of way past my tolerance. So this really is one of the only ones left, and fortunately it's kind of a decent one. And then finally, rounding out the list, if you watch my $500 gaming PC build video, you already know what card this is. It's a GTX 750 Ti that I also again found on AliExpress, but you can get this brand new for a 2 gig model for 126 bucks and brand new for a 4 gig model for 140 bucks. Now, yes, I know the idea of getting a GTX 750 Ti in the year 2021 sounds like kind of a poopy idea, but it is so cheap that honestly, this could be a burner card if you're done using it, or it could just be an intermediary card, like what you may be needing it for right now. Like if you're working on a pre-built system that's from like the year 2012 and you have a low wattage power supply and you just need something better than integrated graphics. If you're in that boat, this for such a low price could be it. And remember, there's a 4 gig model out there for only 140, which honestly, I just spent another 40 bucks for an RX 560 at the minimum, but it exists if you need something. Though I will say for the 2 gig version, you could actually get some pretty decent performance out of that card if you look at my $500 gaming PC build video that uses it. And on most free-to-play titles like Fortnite, Apex Legends, Valorant, and CSGO, you're getting above 60 frames per second with decent graphical settings. So really the 750 Ti I think still holds up well in 2021 for free-to-play PC games. So if you're one of those people, this card for such a cheap price could be it. It's not the best one out of this list, but it's an option. So now to test all 3 of these graphics cards, I'm gonna be putting them all against a GTX 1650 just so you can get an idea of the performance difference between what would be an affordable modern day graphics card versus these on my $500 gaming PC build, which has an i3-10100, a B560 motherboard, and 16 gigs of RAM running at 3200 megahertz. So starting with our first benchmark on Fortnite, using my stress test map where it's just throwing a lot of stuff at your character while you're going through this obstacle course, the 960, 560, and 750 Ti I think perform really well. And this is the stress test map. Probably in a regular match, you can get much more frames per second if you're just walking or running around the map. Now, I don't know why the 1650 result was that low for some reason. I should have actually omitted it probably, but regardless, I'm keeping it in there just because I have it, but I would take that 1650 result with a grain of salt. It was a bit of an outlier. Regardless though, I think the 750 Ti and 960 definitely do show their worth, and that's probably because they're NVIDIA graphics cards, and Fortnite does prefer those NVIDIA cards over AMD ones. Then going on to Grand Theft Auto 5 at normal settings with the only anti-aliasing being FXAA at 1080p, the 960, 560, and 750 Ti lie in a pretty expectable range, though the 560 does have the highest 1% low result and an average result that's almost kind of close to the 960. Yeah, it's like 13 FPS off, but for that $20 difference and being technically a slower card, I think it's all right. Then going on to Valorant, which I actually think we were running into a CPU bottleneck because the graphical settings were down all the way at 1080p. So at that point, only the processor is really holding back the system since it's such an easy game to run at that point. As you can see, the 960, 560, and 750 Ti have 0 problems. So if you're wanting to play Valorant, League of Legends, or CSGO, we're gonna have to crank the graphical settings all the way down just to get maximum frame rate. Even with a not a budget graphics card, a budget processor like the i3, you can get well into the 200 to 300 FPS range if it's one of those games. But now if we go into a more graphically intense title, the narrative changes. Forza Horizon 4, yes, the 960 gets about 60 frames per second at high settings. Yes, the 560 gets about 55 at high settings, but you can really see the difference between a modern day budget graphics card and one of these older ones. That 146 by the 1650 at high settings is a very stark difference. And actually, to comment on the 750 Ti result, that 50 frames per second average, or just about, was at low settings and not at high settings because it was kind of unbearable at high settings. Yeah. So there, with a modern day AAA title, one that you're gonna have to pay for, the difference is quite noticeable. And this is Forza Horizon 4 and not even the upcoming Forza Horizon 5. And then for our last benchmark on the list, Resident Evil Village, at balanced quality settings with Fidelity FX scaling at performance, so our version of AMD FSR for this benchmark. Here, of course, the 1650 shows its worth and why it's a modern day graphics card, but I think the result that we should most look at closely is the RX 560 result. Because for the most part, throughout all these benchmarks, the 960 was a faster graphics card, but the 560 in this one benchmark does slightly outperform it. And I would have expected it to actually do worse, but I think that's because it's the only graphics card on this list utilizing AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution technology. I mean, look at it. It's matching the 960. I would have expected it to get maybe closer to 60 frames per second, but no, it's matching it. As for the 750 Ti result though, that is actually using the performance quality settings, not the balance quality settings, which is why there's that at-risk there. And it's just unplayable. Nope, I would not attempt running a modern day AAA title with the 750 Ti 2GB graphics card. So in conclusion, out of the three cards, which one would I pick? If I were to choose a card right now, 960. But if I were to choose a card long-term, RX 560. And for one reason only, AMD FSR. This is the only card out of this three that can support the technology. And as you saw in the Resident Evil benchmark, I think the reason why this slightly outperformed the 960, which it should have been this card, is because it was the only one that could utilize that AMD Fidelity FX scaling technology. And more titles are integrating that open source scaling algorithm to increase frames per seconds. So hopefully, and I think we'll probably see the technology pop up in Fortnite, Apex Legends, pretty much any modern day free-to-play title, just because it increases their player base so they can get more revenue. I mean, think about it, why not? Because there's already DLSS in there. So I think in the long term and in the long run, the RX 560 might be the smartest choice out of these three, my bad. So with that, that is today's video. And actually, speaking of the comment section, I'm gonna be answering one of your questions. So for today's commenter Q&A, I'm gonna be answering a question from my previous video, which is my setup guide. And it's, where did you find that background from Adian? And if you're asking about where I found that really cool Acura Honda car background with the cool graphics, I found that on Wallpaper Engine, which is what I use for the backgrounds for all of my backdrops on monitors for my setup guides and those sort of videos. And it's a paid app on Steam. You can find a bunch of animated wallpapers through there. So yeah, I mean, it's on Steam. It's really cool. I've used it a lot and I appreciate it. And yeah, Wallpaper Engine, that's the answer. And if you want your chance to get possibly featured in this section, put your question in the comment section and I'll look for it. So that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and this is the ScatterVolt channel, signing out.